making headlines. The President underscores the pivotal role of preserving the culture and heritage as crucial elements in upholding the independence of the nation. India's External Affairs Minister affirms that the developmental projects of the Maldives carried out with the assistance of India have been progressing considerably. And the Education Minister attends the 22nd Commonwealth Education Ministers Conference scheduled May 10th to 11th. Welcome to the English News. I'm your host Malak Ahmed Fayaz. Now for the news in detail. President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu underscores the pivotal role of preserving the ancient culture and heritage as crucial elements in upholding the independence and sovereignty of the nation. The remarks were made by the President following a social media post commemorating the International Museum Day. While President Dr. Muizzu emphasized on the protection and preservation of culture and heritage, the administration has initiated several measures to conserve the nation's cultural heritage. As such, the government established a distinct ministry under the name of Ministry of Divehi Language, Culture and Heritage. This initiative aims to preserve the nation's culture and heritage and ensure it is transmitted to future generations. The ongoing efforts of the ministry include the establishment of the National Institute for Maldivian Heritage Research and the efforts exerted to ensure that the mosques developed in the Maldives using coral stones are included in the permanent heritage list of the Islamic World Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, ISESCO. Additionally, efforts are underway to develop a special laboratory designed to treat the delicate cultural artifacts. The ministry is currently engaged in the creation of a technical group comprised of Maldivian youths with the objective of overseeing and managing the cultural heritage of the nation. President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu has been one of the most practical leaders in implementing major structural projects in the country. It is an indisputable fact that after assessing the ability of the work, the leadership was handed over to President Dr. Muizzu because he has had high hopes for the development of the country. President Dr. Muizzu has proved well that he will work to fulfill the expectations of the citizens for development during the last 6 months since he took office on November 17th. The brightest proof of this is the priority given by the government of President Dr. Muizzu to start major projects as soon as possible without postponing them until the end of the term. The brightest proof of this is the priority given by the government of President Dr. Muizzu to start major projects as soon as possible without postponing them until the end of the term. The biggest disappointment of the citizens in the previous governments was trying to start major projects near the end of their terms. These projects have not brought any real benefit to the people. President Dr. Muizzu has already started work on major structural development projects among the 161 pledges he made in the first 14 weeks of his administration. His top priority when he took office was to study the works that had been started and those that had been stalled and to restart them at a rapid pace. President Dr. Muizzu personally inspected the two most important projects for the economy of the country at the moment, the new passenger terminal at the Villana International Airport VIA and the bridge connecting Male City, Vilimale, Gulifaro and Tilafushi. As a result, the works have gone backwards and the projects are now being carried out at the speed required by the people. The two priorities of President Dr. Muizzu's government are housing and strengthening the air transport system in the Maldives. The largest housing project in the Greater Male region, Ras Male, will be developed by the government in the second month. The project alone includes more than 35,000 houses including land and flats. Dredging of 1,153 hectares of land required for the project has already started. The last government has also accelerated the works under the supervision of the Gulifaro and Girawarfaro projects which were not completed. President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu takes over the government of the Maldives at a time when the independence and sovereignty of the country were under threat. He took over the government of the Maldives at a time when foreign influence on the independence, security and internal affairs of the country was increasing. One of the most important of President Muizzu's pledges is the withdrawal of foreign troops from the Maldives under vague agreements. From the first day of his leadership, he began to fulfill his pledges that no foreign troops should be stationed in the Maldives and that all foreign troops stationed in the Maldives would be repatriated under diplomatic procedures. President Dr. Moizu set deadlines for the withdrawal of foreign troops from the Maldives. All foreign troops in the Maldives have been repatriated by May 10th, the deadline. Minister of Defense Ghassan Mahmoud described the withdrawal of foreign troops in such a short period of time as the wisdom of President Dr. Moizu. In addition to withdrawing foreign troops from the Maldives, the government is also working to strengthen the military strength of the country and reduce its dependence on other countries to ensure its sovereignty. Under that effort, the government of President Dr. Moizu acquired modern drones to patrol the country's border and sea area and established the service of the Maldives National Defense Force MNDF Air Corps. With the service of the Air Corps, the MNDF was able to manage the border without relying on anyone else. The previous government had also outsourced the hydrography survey to obtain information on the Maldivian territorial waters. President Dr. Moizu has decided to conduct hydrography surveys in the Maldivian waters to strengthen the country's independence and sovereignty. Additionally, the government is making efforts to strengthen the MNDF. The government has held discussions with the United States, US, and China on strengthening the MNDF. President Dr. Moizu has also decided to launch a helicopter service in the Maldives this year. The government is also working to recover the part of the Maldives' territorial waters that was lost due to the previous government. India's Minister of External Affairs Dr. S. Jaishankar affirms that the developmental projects of the Maldives carried out with the assistance of India have been progressing considerably. The remarks were made by the minister during the Confederation of Indian Industry (CIIS) Annual Business Summit. Speaking at the summit, Minister Jaishankar stated that some developmental projects were slightly politically influenced, hindering the progress. However, he assured that the progress of the projects have propelled at a notable rate. Following the Minister of Foreign Affairs Musa Zamir's official visit to India at the invitation of Minister Jaishankar's, discussions were held highlighting the spectrum of initiatives across the nation has been kick-started through loans and grants from the Government of India during the previous administration. He emphasized the current government's commitment to prioritizing the resumption and completion of these projects. Meanwhile, the Government of India has reaffirmed its commitment to the development and prosperity of the Maldives by extending a budgetary support of $50 million to be repaid within a term of 1 year. Minister of Education Dr. Ismail Shafiu participates in the 22nd Conference of Commonwealth Education Ministers held from May 16 to 17th at London's Marlborough House. The conference convenes once every 3 years, bringing together educational experts to collaboratively develop comprehensive educational policies. This year's theme, Driving Resilience, Equity and Skills for an Inclusive Future, underscores the importance of education in empowering individuals with knowledge, resilience, fairness, and diverse skill sets to shape a thriving and inclusive future. Accompanying Minister Shafiu on the trip was the Minister of State for Education, Dr. Ahmad Mohammed. Moreover, discussions at the conference primarily focused on formulating and strategizing educational policies to ensure equal access to all levels and types of education, as well as facilitating smooth transitions between education levels to narrow learning disparities. These discussions involved education minister and senior government executives from various countries, providing a broad perspective on education challenges and opportunities. Remarkably, the two-day conference emphasized 3 thematic streams: resilience and sustainability of education systems and learners, resilient societies, economies, and innovative technologies and transitions within the outside the education system. Concurrently, participants actively exchanged views on proactively promoting digital literacy using innovative tools to strengthen the economy, ensuring equal access to education at all levels, and removing barriers to education, particularly for girls, women, and vulnerable groups. The Ministry of Finance discloses that the state received $802.2 million in revenue during the first 4 months of this year, marking a significant 4.2% increase compared to the same period last year. This revenue breakdown comprises $660 million in tax revenue, $129.4 million in non-tax revenue, and $5 million in aid to administration. Tax revenues primarily derived from import duty, business and property tax, BPT, and goods and service tax (GST), with figures as follows. Import duty $60.3 million, BPT $168.8 million, $375.2 million for GST, green tax $27 million, airport service charge and departure tax $25.1 million. Moreover, financial data indicates that the current administration has notably reduced overall expenses compared to the previous year. Total government expenditures for the first 4 months of this year stand at $925.1 million, a significant decrease from last year's $1.04 billion. This includes $724.6 million in recurrent expenses and $194.1 million in capital expenditure. Recurrent expenses prominently consist of $284.7 million in salaries and allowances and $433.4 million in administrative expenses, while capital expenditures primarily involve infrastructural developmental projects. Maldives immigration makes it possible for work visa applicants to obtain their queue numbers through the &Q application. Immigration said that the change will take effect from May 19th. The change is to make it easier for individuals that are applying for work visas. If individuals apply for less than 5 passports through &Q, the number will be issued from 900 hours to 1030 hours, and the service will be provided from 1000 hours to 1500 hours. If more than 6 passports are issued, the numbers will be issued from 1130 hours to 1200 hours, and the service will be provided from 1315 hours to 1500 hours. Immigration is working hard to provide services easily, as such passport issuance will also allow queue numbers to be obtained through the online application QB. The Maldives Police Service MPS issues a cautionary advisory as the unfavorable weather conditions resulted in the collapse of trees and fences on buildings situated in Hulumale. In a post shared on social media, MPS urged residents residing in tall buildings to secure household items susceptible to displacement by harsh winds and stressed the necessity of keeping their windows closed. It further advised seafarers to pay special attention to the weather conditions, highlighting the importance of taking the required precautions. The Maldives Meteorological Service Met Office anticipates that the nation will experience unfavorable weather conditions until May 23rd. Heavy rainfall and harsh winds are expected in some regions of the nation. The ambassador of China to the Maldives, Wang Lijian, affirms that a technical team of China will visit the Maldives to conduct a soil analysis prior to the commencement of the 5 million tree planting program. Addressing the media, Ambassador Lijian stated that the Ministry of Climate Change, Environment and Energy is engaged in collaborative efforts with the Chinese company Fujian Forestry Administration regarding the program. The ambassador further disclosed that the technical team will conduct a comprehensive study on the soil and will identify and elucidate the various types of plants which can be cultivated in the Maldives easily. President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu has announced the national initiative to plant 5 million trees across the country at the high-level segment of the 28th session of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change COP28 in Dubai. The program will commence annually on June 5th, commemorating World Environment Day. Trees will be planted in all residential islands and resorts under the program. The administration previously revealed that the neighboring nations will be contributing trees to the initiative. According to results released Friday by U.S. authorities, workers at Mercedes-Benz Alabama facility rejected union drive in a setback to the United Auto Workers' ambition campaign to organize the American South. A preliminary tally had 2,642 voting against unionization and 2,045 in favor, a margin of 56 to 44%, according to the National Labor Relations Board, which oversaw a 5-day vote at the Mercedes auto manufacturing plant and battery complex near Tuscaloosa. Led by President Shawn Fain, the UAW had high hopes for a second victory after winning an April election at Volkswagen in Tennessee, the first successful union drive at a plant in a southern U.S. state operated by a foreign automaker. But in the election at Mercedes-Benz US International, MBUSI, UAW backers faced opposition not only from Mercedes itself, but from state and local officials who warned of job losses and depicted the campaign as a threat to the local economy. Fain acknowledged disappointment in the result and slammed Mercedes for what he called egregious and illegal behavior during the campaign, but insisted the UAW would press on with additional campaigns in the South. According to a company statement, Mercedes, which replaced the CEO at MBUSI in late April, thanked employees who made their voices heard on the important issue. It said that they look forward to continuing to work directly with their team members to ensure MBUSI is not only the employer of choice but a place they would recommend to friends and family. Union backers complained that the company subjected rank-and-file employees to a stream of anti-union communications at mandatory meetings. Workers who supported unionization have filed unfair labor complaints with the National Labor Relations Board and with German officials alleging the company flouted a law on supply chain practices. North Korea test fires a tactical ballistic missile equipped with a new autonomous navigation system, state media said, with leader Kim Jong-un vowing to boost the country's nuclear force. Kim oversaw the Friday test launch into the East Sea, also known as the Sea of Japan, on a mission to evaluate the accuracy and reliability of the autonomous navigation system, Pyongyang's official Korean Central News Agency KCNA said. The launch was the latest in a string of ever more sophisticated tests by North Korea, which has fired off cruise missiles, tactical rockets and hypersonic weapons in recent months, in what the nuclear-armed UN-sanctioned country says is a drive to upgrade its defenses. The Friday launch came hours after leader Kim's powerful sister, Kim Yo-jong, denied allegations by Seoul and Washington that Pyongyang is shipping weapons to Russia for use in its war in Ukraine. Seoul's military on Friday described the test as several flying objects presumed to be short-range ballistic missiles from North Korea's eastern Wonsan area into waters off its coast. The suspected missiles traveled around 300 kilometers before splashing down in waters between South Korea and Japan, the Joint Chiefs of Staff in Seoul said. The accuracy and reliability of autonomous navigation system were verified through the test fire, Pyongyang's KCNA said, adding leader Kim expressed great satisfaction over the launch. In a separate report released on Saturday, KCNA said Kim visited a military production facility the previous day and urged for more rapidly bolstering the nuclear force of the nation without halt and hesitation. During the visit, he said the enemies would be afraid and dare not to play with fire, only they witnessed the nuclear combat posture of their state, according to KCNA. The table tennis star Fatima Demali, who will be partaking in the upcoming Paris Olympic Games, receives a warm welcome upon returning to Mali City. Dima showcased her exemplary skills amidst stiff competition from the finest table tennis players in South Asia and emerged victorious in the South Asia Regional Olympic qualifications. Her triumph signifies a momentous milestone for the Maldives in the realm of international sports. Upon arrival back to the Maldives, the Minister of Sports, Fitness and Recreation, Abdullah Rafio, and senior officials of the ministry, along with the President of Maldives Olympic Committee, MOC, Mohammad Abdul Sattar, and key figures from the Table Tennis Association of the Maldives, extended their heartfelt and warm welcomes to Dima. The minister organized a special ceremony held in the Youth Center commemorating the groundbreaking achievement of Dima. Paralympic organizers, with a cast of compelling athletes and a record-breaking broadcasting deal, hopes this year's Paris Games can mark a breakout. The 22-sport event, which starts in just over 100 days and will be screened in 160 nations and territories, has long sought wider audiences. And with Paris 2024 officials promising iconic games with the City of Light as a telegenic backdrop, the stage has been set for the top names in Paris sport to shine. They include competitors such as Babe Vio, an Italian fencer with more than 1 million followers on Instagram, and the American armless archer, Matt Stutzman, whose technique in firing arrows or driving cars with his feet have made him an internet sensation. Others include German blade jumper Marcus Rem, an 18-year-old Japanese wheelchair tennis champion Tokito Oda. The one Paris star to break into the mainstream was the since-disgraced sprinter Oscar Pistorius at the 2012 London Olympics. Becoming a global star would require personality, sporting prowess, and institutional support, says experts. In 2012, Pistorius, a double amputee, elevated interest in Paralympians through the technology he employed, his famed running blades, and by competing against able-bodied runners. After debate about the impact of his prosthetic legs and whether they conferred an advantage, Pistorius was authorized to run in the London Olympics 400 meters, where he qualified for the semi-finals. Later, Pistorius was convicted in 2017 and received a 13-year jail sentence after a lengthy trial and several appeals. He was released from jail on parole in January. Ticket sales for the Paris Paralympics have been sluggish, with places still available for most events, even at low prices such as €15. At previous games, many purchases took place closer to the start once the preceding Olympics had whipped up enthusiasm in the host city. Microsoft announces €4 billion in investment for developing data centers in France, joining fellow US giant Amazon in committing to the country's tech infrastructure. The announcements came on the eve of the 7th Choose France Summit, the aim of which is to attract foreign investors to the country. Macron will host it at the Chateau of Versailles, near Paris. Microsoft's president Brad Smith told AFP the move to strengthen its artificial intelligence and cloud computing infrastructure was the tech giant's biggest ever investment in France since its arrival 41 years ago. France's long-standing commitment to carbon-free energy markets and its status as a critical leader in Europe explained the decision, Smith said. A new data center will be created in eastern France, while existing sites in the Paris region and the southern city of Marseille will be expanded. E-commerce behemoth Amazon will invest more than €1.2 billion in France, creating more than 3,000 jobs, French President Emmanuel Macron's office said earlier on Sunday. The money will help develop Amazon Web Services, AWS cloud infrastructure, mainly generative artificial intelligence, and the logistical infrastructure of its parcel delivery service, a statement added. Amazon did not respond to approaches by AFP on Sunday, having recently said it did not want to make any comment ahead of possible announcements that would be made at the event. The US company has already announced the creation of 2,000 new jobs in France in 2024, which would bring its staff workforce in the country up to 24,000 by the end of the year, mainly in its logistics centers. AWS is a key subsidiary of the group, having made $25 billion worldwide in the first quarter, capitalizing on the growing appetite among businesses for remote computer and artificial intelligence services. That's all the news we have for today. Thank you all for watching.
ಗೌಮಿ ಇನಾಮ್ ದೆಹಾಸ್ ಸೌವಿಸ್ ಮೀ ಗೌಮಾ ಮುಜ್ತಮೌಗೆ ಲಾಬಯ ಮಂಫಾಯಟ್ಟಕ ವಕಿವಕಿ ಫರುದುನ್ನಾ ಮದನಿ ಜಮೀಯ ಜಮಾತಕ ವ್ಯಫಾರಿ ಇದಾರಾತಕುಂ ಕುರಾ ಮಸಕ್ಕತ ಹೋದಾ ಕಾಮಿಯಾಬಿಗೆ ಅಗುವಜಂ ಕುರುಮುಗೆ ಗೊತುಂ ಗೌಮಿ ಫೆಂವರುಗ ರೈಸು ಜುಮ್ಹೂರಿಯಾ ದೆವ್ವಾ ಇನಾಮೆ ಮಿ ಇನಾಮ ಫೋಮಾಯಕು ಹುಷಾಳಂಜೆ ತಕೆತಿ ಪೋರ್ಟಲ್ ಮೆದುವೆರುಕೊಂ ಹುಷಾಳಾಣಮ ಹುಷಾಳಾಣಿ apply.presidency.gov.mv ಫೋಮು ಫುರಿಹಮ ಕುರುಮ ಫಹು ಲಿಯುಮುಂ ಹುಷಾಳಾಣಮ ಹುಷಾಳಾಣಿ ರೈಸು ಜುಮ್ಹೂರಿಯಾಗೆ ಒಫೀಹುಗೆ ರಿಸೆಪ್ಷನ ಫೋಮು ಫುರಿಹಮ ಕುರುಮ ಫಹು ರೈಸು ಜುಮ್ಹೂರಿಯಾಗೆ ಒಫೀಹುಗೆ ರಿಸೆಪ್ಷನಂ ಹುಷಾಳಾಣಿ 23 ಏಪ್ರಿಲ್ 2026 ವನ ದೂಹುಂ ಫೆಶಿಗೆಂ 30 ಮೇ 2026 ವನ ದೂಹುಗೆ ನಿಯಲ ಬಂದುನೂಂ ಕೊಮ್ಮೆ ದುವಹೆಗ್ಗೆ ರಸ್ಮೀ ಗಡೀಗ ಪೋರ್ಟಲ್ ಮೆದುವೆರಿಕೊಂ ಹುಷಾಳಾಣಮ ಮಿ ಮುದ್ದತುಗೆ ತೆರೇಗ ಹುರಿಹಾ ದುವಹೆಗ್ಗಾವೆಸ್ ಹುಷಹೆಳೇನೆ ಇತುರು ಮೌಲುಮಾತು ಹೋದುಮ ಗುಳಾಣಿ ತಿನೆ ಹಯೆದ್ದೇಂ ನಂಬರು ಫೋಣ ನುವತ ತಿನೆ ಹತೆ ಸುಮೆಂ ಎಕೆ ನಂಬರು ಫೋಣ ನುವತ ಹತೆನ್ ನುವಯೆಂ ಹಯೆ ಸುಮೆಂ ಅಶೆಂ ಹತರೆಂ ಹತರೆ ನಂಬರು ಫೋಣ